Hello and welcome to Rotted Reviews, and today it's tackling another Rotted request, this time by patron Twan Strong, who assigned me the task of watching and reviewing the 2021 movie Superhost. This is actually one that's been on my radar for a while now. The poster was rather intriguing, but it was written and directed by Brandon Christensen, who I've only seen one movie of his so far, which was Stillborn, and just wasn't the biggest fan of it. I didn't think it was bad. I think I rated it somewhere in the 50s, but yeah, it still just wasn't my favorite thing in the world. So although the poster looked interesting, the concept looked interesting, I just never actually pulled the trigger on it until recently. And as far as why Twan wanted me to review this one, he says, I thought the villain in this movie did a pretty good job of being weird and creepy. She alone kept my interest. So I went ahead and watched it, and I have to be in full 100% agreement here. So this movie follows the characters of Claire and Teddy, played by Sarah Canning and 𝗘𝗾𝗂𝗶𝗽𝗺𝗀 respectively, as YouTubers, lifestyle vloggers that go around to Airbnbs and leave ratings and so forth, and just kind of go about their travels and vlog their expeditions and so on. And their channel is doing okay. Little stagnant, losing a few viewers, definitely not on the uprise that Claire especially wants to be seeing. So they finally managed to rent this property that they've been having their eye on for a while, this beautiful house, and they go there and they meet up with the owner of Rebecca, played by Gracie Gillam. And so we have a typical too good to be true kind of fashion here. They're finally in this place that could possibly get them the views and the subscribers that they want, and at the same time, things are just a little bit off about the whole situation. Rebecca is acting saccharine sweet in a super weird kind of way. Not to mention all the cameras that are all around the house, odd events. One of those things where nothing in particular seems like it would be problematic. Little red flags, but it's a lot of little red flags, and they're adding up to a whole lot. And then we have some of the inter-character dynamics that are kind of leading up to this, with Claire kind of wanting to potentially stoke the fires and be a little bit exploitative in terms of getting those views and those subscribers.
We gotta get more of her.
By potentially capitalizing on the weirdness and going negative against Rebecca, whereas Teddy, he just kind of wants to live a good life, and he wants to propose to Claire, and he doesn't want to go negative. Meanwhile, as far as Rebecca herself goes, just keeps amping up the really pleasant weirdness and constantly throwing up more and more and more red flags. So in my opinion, even though there was a whole lot to like about this movie, the camera work, the setting, the color grading, the sound design, there was just a lot to it that was very, very good. But at the end of the day, I have to agree with Twan that it was Gracie Gillam's portrayal of Rebecca that really kept my interest in the movie and elevated it from, you know, a place of high mediocrity to actually being something that I quite enjoyed. The other performances were good. 𝗘𝗾𝗂𝗶𝗽𝗺𝗀, I've been a big fan of his ever since Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency.
Sorry, you're not scary enough, boss. I can get, like, way scarier. I can be like a goblin. You're fine. You're so scary.
And very competent performance all around. But yeah, it was the Rebecca character that managed to elevate and, I dare say, even completely carry the film. This movie taps into a few different things that I kind of identify with. I've been an Airbnb host before, and it was a very positive experience all around, but there is a little bit of, I don't know, an oddness to the whole vibe of it, in that you are dealing with strangers and you're dealing with them in your home. And I imagine on the other side of it, there's also that equal strangeness in the other direction as well, that you are, as a stranger, coming into somebody's home or coming into somebody's rental property. And I don't know, it's a very personal thing, and it's very organized and hopefully safe. There's a lot of safety measures taken, into account. But, do you really know? For certain, do you really know? Can you really know? It's an odd bit of a relationship that you kind of have inherent in the Airbnb type structure. And this movie definitely taps into that. And also, I kind of got an interesting perspective of this, and I'm not going to say that it was completely resonant, but I think that I got a little bit more out of it having had this channel and having been making these videos and interacting with the community and watching my sub count and things like that, that there was a little bit more of a resonance, I'll just say, with the characters' struggles and what they were going through and some of the portrayals of their characters and how they presented themselves, most notably the differences between how they interacted on camera versus off. I think that, in my opinion, just one of the best things about watching YouTube videos and watching content creators, especially when we're talking about people that are actually on camera and we're getting a sense of their lives, travel vloggers, vloggers in general, opinion hosts, so forth, is that we are seeing them. We are seeing at least a version of them. I mean, when I'm making these videos, this is a version of me, and it's kind of taking a little bit more energy than I would actually probably have in in-person interactions, and bringing that up probably about like 10%. Because on camera, you do need to actually bring forward more energy to actually be a bit dynamic. If I was going to be clicking record here and having a conversation just like I would if I were in the room with a person, it would appear extraordinarily bland. So you do have to kind of bring it up a little bit, but at the same time, that's me to the slightly nth degree. It's still me. And I think that there's a big difference between that and actually completely shifting and completely changing your personality and presenting yourself as a completely different not necessarily like a scripted character, but a false persona. And yeah, it can yield success, but I don't know. I think that for me, I enjoy watching the creators that you can see their honest, true selves come forward. Either that or they're just really good at lying. So I don't know. That just kind of, it struck a little bit of like, slight resonance chord there when I was watching the characters, especially like Teddy, do that, where he was, bringing himself to the camera with a bit more energy. As soon as record clicked, he was definitely a YouTuber or definitely a vlogger. But by contrast, Claire was trying to be a different person than she actually was. And it was interesting seeing that kind of brought to screen with these two characters that are trying to achieve the same goal in two different fashions. So even though this movie really did kind of rely on one singular structural element of the Rebecca character, which just happened to be played beautifully, this is still my favorite of Brandon Christensen's works, and it is heads and tails better than Stillborn, so I am looking forward to what he's going to put out next. So I would say that this is an entertaining horror movie that is worth watching. It's not high art cinema, but at the same time, if the synopsis interests you of these characters kind of going through these odd, weird situations and interactions with the potential for devolving into horrific, bloody consequences, then yeah, I think it's worth watching, and I do recommend the 2021 movie Superhost. I'm very grateful for Twan recommending this one to me, and I in turn recommend it to you. So thank you very much for joining me here on this video. I look forward to seeing you on my next review. Remember, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.